This is the Fairy Ring, which is a portal to the fairy world in Grow a Garden. Now this is a new feature that was a part of a recent fairy update. And honestly, when this thing first appeared, I didn't really know what to make of it, but now that it's here, I love it. Because it actually allows you to travel to the fairy world, get a bunch of cool things, including my favorite thing, an enchanted chest, which allows you to get all sorts of new seeds and pets, and I'll talk about that in a moment because this was phenomenal. But yes, I wanted to talk about some of the things I've done over the past day or two in the game, because I loved using the fairy ring to go to the fairy world. I got so much out of that. I also got a lot of stuff out of the regular world, including somehow going from a few billion shekels to over 9 quadrillion shekels. I'm still shocked how that happened, and I'll talk about that in a moment. But before talking about that, I want to talk about the fairy ring and when it first appeared, because I remember a couple of days ago I was on Grow a Garden. I thought it would be a normal day. I was wrong. It was not a normal day, because all of a sudden there was an admin abuse taking place. It was honestly the first time I had ever been a part of an admin abuse. Now I got so many crazy things out of that and I made a video on it, but something else that was happening during the admin abuse is that there was a timer counting down to the newest update of the fairy event. Now again, I didn't really know any of this was going on, so maybe I need to keep track of these updates a little bit more because I just kind of go into the game blindly. But yes, while the admin abuse was going on, finally the counter hit 0 and there was a new fairy update, and this is when the fairy ring first appeared. And I was like, okay, I gotta check this out. Like, a ring appears in the ground, you gotta jump into it, right? Like, that's just common sense. So I went to the fairy world, and honestly, this place was incredible. Not only did it look incredible, but my favorite thing is how the fairy world had its own fairy seed shop. It also had its fairy cosmetic shop, and it had a fairy pet shop. So I loved this, especially the fairy seed shop, because I saw I would be able to buy a lot of enchanted seed packs, so I wouldn't have to wait on getting wishes and different things like that at the wishing well. It reminded me of the beanstalk event, how at the top of the beanstalk, you had the giant who was selling you seed packs. Now, unlike the beanstalk where you were able to pay for things with shekels, with the fairy seed store, to buy things, you would need to pay with fairy points. I also saw that many items in the stores needed you to catch a certain amount of fairies to unlock. Like, to buy an enchanted egg from the egg shop, you would need at least 100 caught fairies, or to buy more items from the seed shop, you would need at least 250 more caught fairies. So because I had caught 0 fairies, I knew I would have to catch a lot of fairies. So step 1 was of course crafting a lot of fairy nets, and I set out, I gotta catch them all. It's like Pokemon out here, but you know, with fairies. There was also a fairy there that would offer you a prize for handing in caught fairies. Now, to get the first prize, you would need to hand in 100 fairies. I didn't know what I would get out of this, but eventually I realized he would give out enchanted chests, and I loved these enchanted chests, but I'll talk more about that in a moment. Because in the short term, my goal would be, okay, rack up as many fairy points as possible, mostly by doing what I had been up to this point, completing the task at the wishing well. Now, up to this point, I had only been using the fairy points to buy fairy upgrades, but now with the introduction of the fairy ring and being able to go to the fairy world, that is what I would be using the majority of my fairy points on. Because I'm gonna be honest, even though I liked getting the fairy updates, it's not that entertaining. What is fun now is with the fairy points I work hard for. Okay, maybe not that hard, but with the fairy points I get, I'm able to go to an entirely new world and get a whole bunch of new stuff. You could say it's like going to Disney World or something like that, but I wouldn't know because I've never been to Disney World. For all I know, it could be bad. I don't even know. But I did have around 5,000 fairy points on me, so I made a couple of purchases at the fairy seed shop. I bought a couple of seed packs. Now they only gave me some glow thorns, which I had gotten before. To be fair though, I had gotten basically everything out of the fairy seed packs. I was really only hoping to get some more wisp wings, especially because they only had a 0.5% chance of getting them, and I only had 1 up to this point. But anyway, I would complete some more tasks, get some more wishes, but this is when something truly crazy would happen, because again, I'm still kind of surprised this happened, because somebody just came up to me randomly, and so they offered me a trade, and at first I was a little confused, like, okay, do you want anything? Then I saw that they were offering me 9 quadrillion shekels, and I was like, do you want something for that? Like, I don't have anything that comes even close to that value. So I was like, you know what, I will accept the trade. I didn't even give anything in return. I was expecting like, okay, they're going to decline the trade because maybe they're hoping to get something incredibly valuable, but they accepted. I was shocked. I'm still shocked that they accepted, and I was like, well, thank you. I really don't know why you did this, but thank you. To be fair, most of my success in this game so far has been purely by people giving me stuff, and I love that. To be honest though, I love the Grow a Garden community because I find most of the people I interact with are pretty nice and generous. Now that's not everyone, obviously, but most of the people. It's very different from some gaming communities like Call of Duty growing up. I mean, yeah, I don't even need to say more. Let's continue. I would also get some more enchanted eggs. I was still holding out hope for the rare cockatrice. I had gotten every other pet from the enchanted eggs, but I was still holding out hope, and I was hoping that with these eggs I would get it. Also, if you want to see me get the cockatrice, please subscribe. Or even if you hope I don't get it, also please subscribe and like the video. Now, I would also get lucky at the seed shop when I would get a Romanesco seed. Now, I did have 2 more, but really, if I'm being honest, most of the valuable seeds I have I got very recently during the admin abuse, and I got a lot of them. So it was nice to finally get a Romanesco seed purely through my own luck. Like, obviously it was also still through luck, but this time it wasn't the admin abuse, it was just me getting lucky. So I returned a few hours later to hatch my 2 enchanted eggs, hoping to get that cockatrice, and I got another ladybug, which was disappointing. Now with the second one, I did get a glimmering sprite, which at least I was happy about. It was still a little disappointing not to get the cockatrice, but hey, you know, a glimmering sprite is the second best thing. Now I returned to the fairy world, bought a lot more seed packs. I would also get a lot more wishes, and I would get 3 more enchanted eggs, and I thought, okay, maybe this is the time I finally get that cockatrice. Now eventually I had captured 100 fairies, so I was able to return to the fairy world, hand them in, and I would receive my first enchanted chest. Now the enchanted chest was awesome, and I loved a lot of the rewards you could get because you could get so many new items, at least they were new to me. You could get an emerald bud, a cardinal, a pyracantha, a shroomy, or the rarest of all, with only a 1% chance, you could get either an ether fruit or a phoenix. Now obviously I was hoping to get the rarest of them. I definitely want to get my hands on an ether fruit, and obviously I also want to get a phoenix. I wouldn't even mind getting a shroomy though. Also in the fairy world, I was able to buy a ton of enchanted seed packs, so I would now have 11 enchanted seed packs and an enchanted chest to open. Now I opened the enchanted chest and got my first pyracantha, which was pretty good to get. I mean, it only had a 14.5% chance of getting it. But again, I was definitely hoping to get either the phoenix or the ether fruit, but they only had a 1% chance of getting them. Now I did open up the 11 seed packs. I was hoping to get a wisp wing plant, but again, it only had a 0.5% chance of getting it, so I wasn't able to get that. I mostly got a lot of glowthorns, a briar rose, sun bulbs, and I'm not gonna lie, eventually I did get kind of tired of opening up seed packs, especially because I had everything from the seed packs, but the enchanted chest, now that's what became fascinating. Also the enchanted eggs, because I was still holding out hope for that cockatrice, which I hadn't gotten. And now I returned later to hatch the enchanted eggs, and I knew this time I would get the cockatrice. But no, I just got 2 more ladybugs and an imp, so that was a little disappointing. Maybe I need more good luck. Now eventually some more time went by, and I spent a lot of time catching fairies. I realized as well that the best way to catch fairies was while the fairy event was going on, to wait right by the fairy tree where they came in and out, and catch as many of them as I could after they had mutated my plants and were returning to the fairy world. And after a little bit of time, I caught 230 fairies, which I know is a lot. Some of you are probably like, that's not even that much, and to be fair, I would catch a lot more in a moment. But I returned to the fairy world, submitted them, ended up getting 2 more enchanted chests, and I was excited, because again, I was still holding out hope for that ether fruit, and of course the phoenix, but they only had a 1% chance each. And so I opened the first one, and it gave me a cardinal, which I was like, you know, it's fine, it's a type of bird, but I was hoping for the phoenix. Now I opened up the second one, once again hoping for something great, but I got a pyracantha again. Not horrible, but again, I was hoping for something new. Now some more time would go by, I would end up catching 302 fairies, and that was a big deal for 2 reasons. Now the first is when I returned to the fairy world, I was able to get 2 more enchanted chests. And the other reason was because in the fairy seed shop, getting over 250 caught fairies unlocked other items in the store. Now this time only the Pixie Fern was in stock, so I bought 2. And with the 2 enchanted chests, I was able to get another pyracantha and my first emerald bud, but I'm still holding out hope for the very rare things I can get from the enchanted chest. Now lastly, I was also able to get 4 new enchanted eggs, and I returned to hatch them thinking, okay, surely I have to get a cockatrice from one of these 4. I mean, I've hatched so many eggs and I still haven't gotten one. And I hatched all 4, and once again, I didn't get a cockatrice. I did get 2 more ladybugs, which was disappointing. I also got another imp and a pixie, so I was like, okay, I mean, I guess it's fine. But I know eventually I will get that cockatrice. But anyway, if you want to see me get some of the rarer creatures, please like and subscribe. But yes, I am enjoying the fairy ring, all the new fairy updates, especially the enchanted chest. And again, I'm hoping to get that phoenix or that ether fruit. I know I'm going to get it. But yes, what do you think? And please like and subscribe for more.